Um, all right. 21. Still. How many students are there this class? 26 or 24?
26, sir.
26, yeah. Okay. So 4 more students, yeah. I hope all of you will be able to join this class today, yeah. Okay, good. Let's just remind you about the activity that we have to do today. Let me just share our screen here. Okay, so this is what we plan to do this evening. So group 1 will present the topic of designing classroom assessment, theoretically based, and then the part of the group that is will also present the topic, but this is from the result of review of the previous research findings. Yeah. When I see the materials shared in the WhatsApp group, I think both part of the group here have already presented the comprehensive material. That's good. Group 1 has added more explanation about the classroom assessment. Previously only focused on testing, but after being revised, the article, the material cover more comprehensive topics. Yeah, and then also for the another group, this is the empirical peace group. I've also presented the comprehensive materials, including the review of articles, 4 articles, representing each level of education. Okay, that's good. Now, I think to save our time, we will start soon. Yeah, but before that, I just let you. What's that? Remember that you are recommended to keep some comments or questions on the material that are going to be presented today, in order to broaden your understanding and comprehension about the topic, designing classroom assessment. And I do hope that each of us have made some preparation from before joining this class. You have read some relevant, related references that will should give us the background knowledge, in order to be active in discussing the topic. Because if you come to the classroom without any preparation, without reading any relevant topic, then I'm afraid that you will not have any question to ask. Okay, good. Now, so group 1, Sandi. Sandi, are you there? Hello, Sandi.
Yes, sir.
Good, very good. Wilhelmina, are you?
Yes,
Hello?
Bapak.
Okay, good. Triutami. Halo, Triutami.
Saya, Bapak.
Okay, good. And then Normaya, Devi.
Yes, Bapak.
Good. Siti Aufadia.
Yes, Bapak.
Good. Rosyatul Patria.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good, very good. So all have joined the meeting. Yeah, good. So now I think the theoretical peace group should present first, and then after that followed by the empirical based. But maybe in order to be effective in the discussion after the theoretical peace group has presented, I don't know which do you prefer? We go on after the material is complete, or we will discuss based on the theory first and then empirical later. But in my opinion, presenting the whole topic material will be better, because some questions are addressed to each of the theoretical and empirical peace group. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good. Now, group one, yeah, group one, I mean theoretical based group should present first, yeah. Okay, time is yours. Let me stop screen sharing, yeah.
Okay, so I will share my screen first.
Mhm.
Is it already can be seen?
Yes.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
So we are from the group one. We'll present our topic about designing classroom assessment based on Douglas Brown in 2004 in his book Language Assessment Principles and Classroom Practices. So me, Sandi Fatul Rahman, and Tri Umiwarda and Wilhelmina Erlin Leba will present our presentation. So in this presentation, there will be 4 content. Which is, the first one is classroom assessment definition, and then test types or assessment types, I'm sorry, and then steps to test construction and scoring, grading, and giving feedback. Okay, so the first content will be delivered by Mbak Erin.
Okay, thank you, Mas Sandi, for the occasion. So, the first material is about the definition of classroom assessment. What is classroom assessment? Assessment is education measure student achievement. They may take the form traditional assessment such as exams or quizzes, but may also be part of learning activities such as group projects or presentations. Classroom assessments helps individual college teachers obtain useful feedback on what, how much, and how well their students are learning. So, what I can conclude is like Bapak Hartono already explained last week that classroom assessment can help teacher to find out what the students know or in the term of knowledge and find out what the students can do and how well they can do or skill performance. And classroom assessment is an approach designed to help teachers find out what students are learning in the classroom and how well they are learning it. This approach is the first is learner-centered, which the main focuses of classroom assessment on observing and improving learning, but not on observing and improving teaching. And the second is teacher-directed. In this approach, each teacher decides what to assess, how to assess, and how to respond to information from assessment. And then the third is mutually beneficial. And then the fourth is formative. The aim of formative is to improve the quality of student learning. And then context specific. To be useful, classroom assessment must respond to the specific needs and characteristic. And then ongoing. It is the classroom assessment is an ongoing process, which is when the process in the class when we teach, and then we can assess the students in that time when we teach. And then the last is root in good practice. Okay, Mas, next. Mas Andi, can you move? Okay, thank you. The next is the importance of assessment. While assessments may take many forms, they also are used for a variety of purposes. They may guide instruction, determine if reteaching, remediating, or enriching is needed, and identify strengths and weaknesses, and determine gaps in content knowledge or understanding, and confirm students' understanding of content, and determine if learning outcomes have been achieved, and collect data to record and analyze, and evaluate course and teaching effectiveness. While all aspects of course design are important, your choice or assessment influence what your students will primarily focus on. So if the teacher gives the exam only focuses on memorizing content and doesn't think critically, so students only memorize material without understanding. Okay, Mas, next. And then review course learning goals and objectives. A good assessment plan and robust set of assessments for a course come directly from the course learning objectives and should be designed to help students. The first, learn with smaller, lower stakes, formative opportunities, and the second is demonstrate their mastery of course content and skills in higher stakes assessments such as exams or large projects. So in developing your assessment plan, review your course's learning goals and objectives and think about how to align your assessment with this object. And then next is learning objectives. Course learning objectives state what students can expect to have learned after completing the course. These are the things that you want students to remember years after they leave your course and are out in the world contributing to your field and society professionally. So in short, what we have given as a teacher and what students have received when we teach can be useful for their future. Next, Mas. Next is choose and design assessments. Once you have reviewed your course goals and learning objectives and align your assessments to choose objectives to those objectives, you can begin to design the assessments themselves. Usually, some combination of exam, projects, papers, labs, quizzes, homework, and etc. So so the next is choose the type of assessments. At a basic level, we can classify assessments as formative or summative, low stakes or high stakes. The first is formative assessments. Check students' learning progress. Formative assessments are often low stakes, particularly activities. For the example, such as homework problems, short quizzes, paper, or projects draft, and so on. And then summative assessments evaluate students' learning for mastery of concepts or skills. Summative assessments are typically high stakes, such as exams, design projects, research term papers, and etc. Okay, next, Mas. Oh, okay. So the next slide will be delivered by Mas Sandi.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Ernie. So the next is we're going to talk about common questions in developing classroom assessment. And to start the process of developing classroom assessment, the teacher should know about what is the purpose of the test, what are the objectives of the test, and how will the test specification reflect both the purpose and the objective, and how will the test tasks be selected and the separate items arranged, and what kind of scoring, grading, and or feedback is expected. And before we move to type of assessment in classroom, so before we conduct the assessment in classrooms, we need a consideration to accurately measure outcomes and to provide optimal feedback for students. The consideration is about learning outcomes, assessment and grading, course level, and the student itself. And then we move to the types of assessment in classroom. So the first one is diagnostic. It's an assessment that happens before learning activity And the result is used to diagnose problem areas to focus on during the teaching or the next teaching that will become in the classroom. And then the second one is formative assessment. The assessment that happens during learning activity, and the result is used to inform what to do next for students. And then the last is summative assessment. It happen after the learning activity. The results are a summation of learning that has occurred. And then we move to the designing assessment in listening. The first one is intensive listening. Intensive listening is a listening for perception of the component, which is phoneme, words, or intonation. And the example for intensive listening assessment is recognizing phonological and morphological elements. And the second one is responsive listening. It's a listening to a relatively short stretch of a language, like a greeting or giving a comment. And for the example, like we give the students to respond to a question. And then the third one for intensive listening is selective listening. Selective listening assessment is a processing stretches of discourse such as short monologue in order to scan certain information. And for the example, is like missing words in the blank. And the last one is extensive listening, is to develop a global understanding of spoken language. And then we move to the designing assessment for speaking. The first one is imitative speaking. It's the ability to simply imitate a word or phrase or possibly a sentence. For the example, like word repetition task. And the second one is intensive speaking. It's a production of short stretches of oral language designed to demonstrate competence in such a grammatical, and the example is rhetorical task. And the next is responsive speaking. Responsive speaking is an interaction and task comprehension with a limited observation. With a limited conversations. And the task example is question and answer or paraphrasing. And then the next is interactive speaking. It's a come out different with length, and it's the same as responsive. It's the same as responsive speaking, but it different with length and complexity. And the example of the task is interview. And then the last is extensive speaking, which is extensive oral production tasks, speech, storytelling, and presentation. And the example is oral presentation. And we move to the designing assessment for reading. The first one is perceptive reading. It's the tasks that are fundamental and basis, like recognition alphabet, symbol, capitalized, and punctuation. And then the next is selective reading. Selective reading is a formal aspect of language, like lexical and grammatical. And for the example is matching task. Also, the next is interactive reading. Interactive reading is a form focused and meaning focused objective. For the task example is short answer task. And the last one for designing assessment in reading is extensive reading. It's a longer text such as journal, article, short stories, and books. And the text is usually come with summarizing and responding to a journal or article. And the last is for designing assessment is writing. The first one is imitative writing. It's a fundamental and basic task of writing letters, words, and punctuation. And then intensive writing. Intensive writing is a skill in producing appropriate vocabulary within a context and correct grammatical feature. Like for the task example itself is dictation or vocabulary assessment. And then responsive and extensive writing, which is connecting sentence. For responsive writing, it's connecting sentence into paragraph and creating logically two or more paragraphs. While for extensive writing is a successful management of all the process and strategies of writing up to length of an essay or a major research project. For the example is paraphrasing or guiding question and answer. Okay, so this is an additional, which is the types of tests in classroom. The first one is language aptitude test. It's designed to measure capacity or general ability to learn a foreign language and ultimate success in that undertaking. Also, the second one is proficiency test. It aims to test global competence in a language, and then placement test to apply student into a particular level or section of a language curriculum or school. And then diagnostic test is designed to diagnose specified aspects of a language. And then the last one is achievement test, related directly to classroom lessons, units, or even a total curriculum. Okay, so the next slide will be delivered by Mbak Ernie.
Okay. The next is practical steps to test instruction. You may think that every test you devise must be a wonderfully innovative instrument that will garner the accolades of your college and the administration of your students. No. First, new and innovative testing formats take a lot of effort to design and a long time to refine through trial and error. Second, traditional testing technique can, with a little creativity, conform to the spirit of an interactive, communicative language curriculum. So in short, the tests we design must contain new and innovative test formats and take a lot of effort to design and a lot of time to perfect. So make it more serious to make the test. Next, Mas. Assessing clear and ambiguous objectives. In addition to knowing the purpose of the test you're creating, you need to know as specifically as possible what is you want to test. Begin by taking a careful look at everything that you think your students should know or be able to do based on the material that the students are responsible for. So the tests should neither be too easy nor too difficult. Jadi jangan terlalu sulit dan jangan terlalu mudah. Start by looking carefully at everything that you think your students should know or be able to do. So based on the material they have received. So make it sure with what you already teach and menyesuaikan with the capability, like if you think that you already teach them the material, it's sesuai with their kemampuan mereka untuk menerima, so make the test is sesuai with what you already teach. So your first task in designing a test then it's to determine appropriate objective. Jadi it will be measured with the objective that you already make before. Next, Mas. Okay, the next it will be delivered by Mbak Wardah.
Drawing test specification. Test specification for classroom use can be a simple and practical outline of your test. And then test specification are much more formal and detailed. The specification will simply comprise a broad outline of the test and what skill you will test. and what the item will look like. Drawing up test specification, there is considered the option that is test from. Test from can be oral for student listen or written for student reads, and the students can respond orally or in writing. And there are two kinds of the prompt tests. The first is elicitation mode and response mode. The first is oral for student listen, like word, pair of word sentence, question direction monologue, speech pre-record conversation interactive or live dialogue. And written, students read word, set of word sentence, question, direction, paragraph essay, and excerpt short story or books. And for response mode, there is oral. That is repeat, read aloud, yes or no, short response, describe role play, monologue, or speech, interactive dialogue. And there is written, mark multiple choice option, fill in the blank, spell in word, define a term with a phrase, and short answer 2 till 3 sentence essay. Okay, next. Devising test tasks. The first is begin and end with non-score item or warm up and wind down. And the second, design to set students at easy and then sandwich between them item intended to test the objective or level check. And the last is a little beyond. In devising test task, there is an oral interview format, like the first is question and comment, and the second level check question, and the third is prop, like what is your opinion about or how do you feel about, and the last is wind down, comment and resurgence. And next, designing multiple choice item. The first is design each item to measure a specific objective, and the second, state both STEM and option as simply and directly as possible, and the third, make certain that the intended answer is clearly the only correct one, and use item to accept, discard, or revise item. The mean of that is design each item to measure specific object. There is two kinds. The first is multiple choice item that is revised. For example, the question like, what did George go after the party last night? And then it is the answer must be where George go, like that. And the second is there is multiple choice item, cloud. Like, for example, question like, accuse me, do you know, blah, blah, blah. And there is three. And this is about the answer like, where is the post office, where's the post office is, and where post office is. For the second, state both STEM and option simply and directly possible. This is good rule in the directly the point. This is membutuhkan hanya satu jawaban, multiple choice close item yang mendekati jawaban tersebut. And the third is make certain that the intended answer is clearly the only correct one. The question with only one correct answer. And the last, use item indicates to accept, discard, or revise item. Like, gunakan index item untuk menerima, membuang, atau merevisi items. Next. Sorry. There is scoring, grading, and giving feedback. This is example of scoring. And this is how your decision about scoring your test. For oral interview, get 40%. Listening, reading, and writing is 20%. And the reason why listening, reading, and writing is get for 20%, because listening, reading, and writing are less consequence than oral interview. Okay, next, grading. This is how you assign letter grades to this test is product of, the first is the country, culture, and context of this English classroom, and then institutional expectation, and then explicit and implicit definition of grades that you have set forth, the relationship you have established with these classes, and students' expectation that have been engendered in previous tests and quizzes in this class. Next. Giving feedback. This is the option in giving feedback. The first is letter grade, the second total score, and then the third for sub-score, like speaking, listening, reading, and writing. The fourth is for listening and reading section. For listening and reading section, it can be seen from indication of correct or incorrect response and marginal comments. And then the fifth for the oral interview. Next. For the sixth, on the essay. On the essay, it can be seen from score for each element being read, a checklist of area reading work, marginal and end of essay comment suggestion, a post-test conference to go over work, and self-assessment. And the seven on all are selected part of the test, peer checking and result. The eighth, whole class discussion of result of the test, and the last, individual conference with each student to review the whole test. Thank you. These are the reference.
Okay, so in conclusion, classroom assessment is something that teachers do as a part of their responsibility for enhancing students' learning and motivation, and also documenting students' performance so that the students know how well students are comprehending key points during a lesson or a course. So that's all of our presentation. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay. Okay, thank you, Sandy, and all the members for the presentation. Yeah, they have presented the topic briefly enough. Yeah, briefly enough. Okay, now I think we need to go on with the second topic, that is the empirical based classroom assessment. Yeah, classroom assessment. Okay, now who will be responsible for the presentation of the second topic? No, we should present. For the second topic?
Sir,
Raisa.
yes. Let me share screen first. Is it visible?
Yes, Mbak. Clear.
Sorry, Rodia, you are raising your hand. You want to say something?
Yes, sure, but later, I mean, for the question and answer
Okay,
section,
good.
I'm
Very
sorry.
good. Yeah. Okay, that's okay. That's okay. Okay, yeah, Rosyatul, please go on.
Yes, sir. Like for the empirical group, here Raisatul Badriyah, Siti Aufadiyah Nuraini, and Nurmaya Dewi. Here we have 4 research. The first is elementary, and the second for junior, and the third senior, and the last university. For the first, we'll talk about research 1, effect of formative classroom assessment in Saudi Arabian elementary schools. The abstract here, this study was designing to investigate the effect of formative classroom assessment on elementary school in Saudi Arabia. The research design in this study is based on both pre and post-test experimental design. The number of participants was 120 from 2 private elementary schools, with participants selected based on their scores. The students in this study scored less than 60% in their first semester. The formative classroom assessment tests were applied in their second semester. The findings here revealed that formative classroom assessment had a significant effect on elementary school students and showed that formative classroom assessment had an increased positive effect on female student academic exam scores when compared to male students. And the introduction, the learning process of elementary school students takes place in a classroom, which is merely a training environment. The classroom contains a mixed dynamic system of interaction between teacher and students. Teacher in classrooms take a bundle of instructing the students in order to determine students' level of learning and academic achievements. In the classroom settings, teachers need to realize that their students' level of competencies is related on their year grade and how they can improve these competencies based on the year-long instruction. And the research question here, what is the effect of formative classroom assessment in Saudi Arabian elementary schools? And the second one is, what are the different effects of formative classroom assessment on female and male students and its significance? The research method here, the duration of the study covered one entire academic year. So the work was based on an experimental design of pre and post test. The number of participants was 120 students of mixed gender. The participants were positively sampled for this study. The study's two tests were based on the basic science achievement test, and the students' test feedback was validated by experienced teachers in the field. And the result demonstrate that formative classroom assessment had a significant effect on elementary school students by improving academic test scores. This research further showed that formative classroom assessment had an increased positive effect on female students' academic exam scores when compared to male students. But in this study, both female and male was increased their exam scores. And the conclusion, based on the finding about the research determined the effect of formative classroom assessment in Saudi Arabian elementary schools with respect to a variety of perception. There was found to be a quantitative improvement in students at the elementary level by applying formative classroom assessment in classrooms. Various effects of formative classroom assessment on female compared to male students were also noted. And for the recommendation, provide intense training courses to elementary level teachers to allow them to become familiar with the formative classroom assessment strategies and its various mechanisms. The training course should also include how to provide adequate feedback for students and train teachers regarding solving strategies for students' difficulties in learning. For the research tool will be delivered by Mbak Maya. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Roisa. And the second research, the title is Design of Assessment for English Subject in Junior High School by Julianus Pakan Mangewa. Next slide. And here is the abstract. The problem concerned in this study is the design assessment for English subject in junior high school. An exploratory method utilized in the study. The aim of the study is to explore or to investigate the theory of assessment design in junior high school. The design of assessment will be examined through a sequential exploratory design that employ both qualitative and quantitative data. And the study will be beneficial theoretically and practically. Theoretically, the result of the study will contribute to the general understanding of the curriculum change implementation. And practically, the result will help the teacher in designing English assessment more appropriately. That's it. Next slide, Mbak. Mbak Roisa. Okay, the introduction. Teacher use the curriculum as the starting point in introduction, Mbak. Okay, teacher use the curriculum as the starting point in deciding what to assess and to focus on why and how students gain their understanding. Assessment for learning requires ongoing assessment of the curriculum outcomes that comprise the intended learning. teacher create assessment that will expose students' thinking and skills in relation to the intended learning and the common preconception. And according to Balitbang Deptiknas, English as a formal subject is given to junior high school level, which the goals are translated as follows. The goals of teaching and learning English for this level are improving the four English skills. There are the mastery of the receptive skill, reading and listening, and the mastery of productive skill, that is speaking and writing, within a specified word level and relevant grammatical structure and notion in the text of the specified themes which are enclosed for junior high school students. Next slide, Pak. And the research question here is, how do English teacher design assessment for English subjects in junior high school? And for the research method, the writer used exploratory method. The study used a questionnaire, lesson observation protocol, semi-structured interview, and document analysis as main tools for data collection. And the questionnaire responses, observation, and tape interview and document help to map out assessment design in junior high school. Next slide, Mbak. Okay, and here is the findings. The intent of the study was to determine the methods were used by English teacher in junior high school. The intent would be focused in a sort of assessment used to assess students' learning result based on competencies and content standard set in curriculum. And the study would reveal English teacher method assess their students, whether the English teacher assess their students more frequently, such as weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly. And the finding would also reveal that some English teacher assess their students in line with the government requirement or organizing regular exercise for assessment. It will be also reveal whether the English teacher organize remedial lesson for their students as often as it should be. And the study provide evidence to suggest that design assessment for English subject in junior high school is a combination of many factors, and the factors include teacher knowledge, skill and experience, lack of teacher support, and inadequate teaching and learning research, inequitable distribution of research and preparation of teachers. Next slide, Mbak. And then the next one is the conclusion and the recommendation. From the findings, the design of assessment would be used. The English teacher in junior high school would be revealed in ordering, in terms, sequence based the highest frequency. There would be no refresher courses on design assessment, and there would be limited monitoring of how teachers organize their assessment. A model of assessment was developed from a combination of the findings of this study and the literature, and it would be recommended to build a capacity of English teacher to improve their assessment skills should be a priority if learning English has to be meaningful. That's all. And the third research will be delivered by Mbak Alfa. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Maya. Okay, for the third research, the title is Teacher Perception and Practices of Classroom Assessment in the School-Based Curriculum, a case study of one private senior high school in Bandung, from Felicia Miranda Rekatomresi. Okay, next, Mbak. Okay, For the abstract, this study was designed to investigate teacher perception of classroom assessment in English classrooms and classroom assessment practices based on the current school-based curriculum that has been applied in Indonesia. This study employed a qualitative research design embracing characteristics of a case study, which collected data from one English teacher at one private senior high school in Bandung. The structured interview of 5 questions and classroom observation by video recording were used in collecting the data on teacher perception and practices of assessing students in English classroom. The finding revealed that the teacher had a positive attitude towards classroom assessment. Further, despite some limitation in its implementation, the use of particular strategies by employing various assessment techniques, providing feedback to the students, and giving assistance to the students were assumed as the effective ways to gather comprehensive information on student learning. Okay, next. Okay, for the introduction, the assessment conducted in the classroom, or mainly known as classroom assessment, is a major component of classroom research. As we know that through assessment, the teacher can know more about the ability to make the students more active or self-assessment and self-directed learners. And in the curriculum, the teacher was given the authority to construct their own assessment in assessing student performance. A variety of assessment tools should be used to measure complex achievement targets, and these tools should depend on the students and the subject matter being assessed. Therefore, this present study was designed to investigate teacher perception of classroom assessment in English teaching and the current classroom assessment practices. Okay, now there are 2 research questions. First, what is the teacher perception on classroom assessment? And the second, how does the teacher conduct classroom assessment? For the research method, participant, one English teacher who was obliged to teach the 12th grade classes at one private senior high school in Bandung was chosen as the participant in the study. And for the instrument, the data were collected from 2 sources, including structured interview and classroom observation. The interview session consists of 15 items of question. The observation was intended to validate the data from the interview by exploring the practices of the classroom. There were 6 time observation sessions conducted during the teaching and learning process in the classroom. And for the findings about the teacher perception of classroom assessment, the finding on teacher perception revealed that teachers' strong agreement that classroom assessment is very important in the teaching and learning process, both for the teacher and students. And the practices of the classroom assessment, since the assessment is essential for the students, the teacher in the interview session argued that the assessment criteria have to be explained and clearly stated for the students. Besides, the data from the interview also revealed essential fact about the use of classroom assessment technique during the teaching and learning process. It was found that in assessing students' learning and performance, the teacher employed various assessment techniques or methods such as pen and paper test, listening test, performance assessment in terms of presentation and observation. Further, the use of this assessment technique also covers all aspects of learning, which are psychomotor, affective, and cognitive aspects. Regarding the purpose of assessment, the teacher added the formative and summative assessment were also implemented during the assessment process. And for the problem in class assessment, problem usually comes from students regarding their motivation to study. Teachers are still trying to evaluate the effectiveness of assessment process in class. Teachers usually evaluate the effectiveness of the assessment process, including the assessment technique, at the end of the year. Teacher usually asks for student response and opinion about the teaching and learning process, including the assessment process. Evaluation of students will be considered important to planning and organizing future teaching. Okay, and this is the conclusion and recommendation. Based on the finding above, it appears that the teacher have a very comprehensive understanding of the classroom assessment, especially in the context of school-based curriculum. The use of various assessment techniques, providing feedback, personal assistance to students is considered accommodative to enhance student learning. However, because this study only focuses on collecting data from this teacher's point of view, for the recommendation, it is suggested that for the researcher to be conducted by exploring students' perception of the classroom assessment conducted by the teacher. This is considered important because the assessment has important effect on student learning. So, research on the effect of classroom assessment on the student learning motivation is highly recommended of further research. Okay, for the fourth research, the title is Classroom Assessment Practices of EFL Lecturers with Current Curriculum Implementation, where policy meets practice. From Alfian, M. Nur Ahmad Rashid, Ahmad Habibi, Napunpal, and Muhammad Yusuf. Okay, this is the abstract. This study aims to explore the assessment practices of EFL lecturers, especially the methods used in assessing the three student competencies: knowledge, skills, and attitude. This quantitative study relies on survey data from 71 participants joining the EFL Lecturers Association Indonesia. Furthermore, the convenient sampling technique was used to determine the sample, and the data were analyzed using SPSS version 24. The research showed that the lecturers employed various methods in assessing the three domains of students' competencies. It was also found that the lecturers mostly used employed observation for assessing attitude domains, tests for assessing knowledge, and work performance for the skills. The finding demonstrate that the lecturers have followed the assessment policy of the government related to the method, purpose, instrument, procedure, and reporting grade. The result also show no difference in the assessment practice between lecturer with the master and doctoral degrees. Okay, next. Okay, for the introduction, students' assessment is an important component of the curriculum because it provides both information and evidence of learning. The purpose of the assessment can be achieved with the right methods, instrument, and technique, as well as the right procedure based on well-founded theory. However, little attention has been given to the practices of EFL teachers that focus on the methods and procedure used for assessing the three student competencies. Practices generally demanded in the current curriculum implementation within the Indonesian context. This study aims to fill out this empirical gap by investigating how lecturers of English as a foreign language conducted an assessment, particularly the method used in assessing the three domain competencies, as guided by KKNI. Okay, for the next slide will be delivered by my friends. The time is yours.
All right, we should continue.
Mbak Maya.
Next slide, Mbak. Research question.
Yes, that's already a research question.
Huh?
Already research question, Mbak Mai. Sudah, Mbak Mai, sudah.
Okay, wait, Pak. Maybe the connection is bad. Okay, the next one is the research question. For the first, what methods are mostly used in assessing student competencies? And the second one is, how are the lecture assessment practice regarding the method, purpose, instrumentation, procedure, reporting grade, and barrier. And the third one, is there a difference in assessment practice between a master and doctoral degree lectures? And the fourth, are assessment practice differences among the length of teaching experiences? Next slide, Mbak. And here is the research method. A quantitative survey design was employed to have a more comprehensive understanding and clear picture of the assessment practice. And the population of the study is English lecturer joining the elite and LITA, two English lecture association in Indonesia with 153 LITA and 253 elite members, respectively. Furthermore, a random sampling technique was used to require 71 English lecturer who responded to the questionnaire as the study sample. And the data were obtained from the respondent using the Google Form-based questionnaire. And the questionnaire consists of 3 parts. The first has 7 close-ended items describing the respondent's informational background. And the second part consists of 7 open-ended statements measuring the method used to assess the student's competencies domain. And the last part consists of 29 questions. Okay, to answer the first research question, and here is the findings. The method used in assessing students' competencies. The lecturer used various methods to assess the students' attitudes. However, the method that was mostly employed was observation. This is followed sequentially by a questionnaire, participation, and self-assessment. Interestingly, the methods of assessing students' attitudes, that is performance and written tests, domain were unlikely chosen by the lecturers. Only 2 lecturers use each of the written test and performance method to assess students' attitude toward EFL teaching and learning. And the various methods used in assessing student knowledge, domain. However, most lecturers choose the task method. These test techniques mean that they either use written tests or oral. The second method used in assessing knowledge is asking students to perform their work, and another method employed by the lecturer is participation, followed by a questionnaire and observation. The last method is the presentation, and the next slide will be delivered by Mbak Roisa. Thank you.
The lecturers also employ various kinds of methods in assessing student skills. Most of the lecturers choose performance and observation in assessing this domain. This is followed by the test and participation, while the last method were questionnaire and fieldwork. Interestingly, the presentation was only selected by a few participants, even though it is a method for assessing student skills. And for the lecture assessment practice, the findings show that the respondents use various methods to assess students' learning. Respondents also have a clear purpose in conducting the assessment. Respondents use 1 or 2 instruments in assessing students' learning. Respondents have also followed the assessment guidelines, procedure, respondents' priorities, midterm and final semester exams, summative assessment. and differences in assessment practice based on educational degree and teaching experience. The findings show that educational background degree has no significant effect on the oral assessment practice. The findings also show that teaching experience has no significant effect on practice assessment. Therefore, one person's teaching experience cannot significantly influence another person's judgment practice. And conclusion and recommendation, the results show that EFL lectures significantly use various methods to assess students' competence. Furthermore, they follow the assessment guidelines provided by the government and universities. In addition, from the finding above, it is stated that teaching experience has no significant effect on practical assessment. The following recommendations are submitted to lecturers, quality assurance institution, curriculum developer, and universities. Lecturers are advised to improve the quality of their knowledge and skills in evaluating and assessing learning by following the guidelines issued by universities, dictis, and dicti. That's all from our group. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Mbak.
Okay, thank you very much. The empirical base group, which is presented, the material, I think the presentation of the empirical base group is also comprehensive, because in the file, as I said in advance, main important points have already been covered, starting from abstract, and then introduction, method, and then findings and conclusion or recommendation. That's good, So this can be imitated by the following groups, Okay, good. Now, I think before we let audience to ask orally, the presenters need to give responses to the written question which have already been shared in the WhatsApp group, So maybe starting from the theoretical based group, who should give responses to those questions, in the WhatsApp group. Okay, which member should give the response first? Sorry, let's just check how many questions you have got in the WhatsApp group, Starting from the first, Daniar, Daniar asked question, how can we revise and improve existing classroom assessment design to optimize students' learning effectiveness? Okay, this is the first question, And then from personal question, which one? I don't know who is the second here.
Me, sir. Bangkit, that's Bangkit.
Oh, Bangkit, Bangkit. Okay, Bangkit. From placement, proficiency, and achievement, which one is the best to test or assess ESP? Okay. Okay, this is for the types of assessment, type of test, placement test, proficiency test, achievement test, which one is the best? Which one is the most appropriate, to assess English for specific purposes? Okay, and then the next, Halimatus, ask two questions. The first is, how do we design good assessment? And give example if appropriate, And then do teachers or lecturers have to analyze the needs of the student? This is need assessment, before designing the assessment. Okay, good. I think this was a good question. And then the next is from Rahmatika. After reading the slides and considering any issues about assessment in our curriculum, I want to know the original opinion from the presenters about what is your opinion about making the best assessment to encourage the student's potential, yeah, the student potential. Do you have any ideas to design a suitable assessment for the 21st century students? Okay, good. This was a good question. And there's still some other question here. Like this is from Dino. So the which group? Yeah, this is to theoretical based group. If the result of the test shows a bad result on a normal curve, what should we do? What should the teachers do? And then considering about the big class in Indonesia that consists of about 30 to 40 students, how do we make an effective assessment to measure their skills or performance in mainly in speaking? Okay. All right. And then the next is based on your analysis, why gender can make different effect on the result of formative classroom assessment. Okay, group. I mean, this is for group empirical based, based on the result of the research. Okay, and then Andi Anugrah. Yeah. Okay, I think you can read by yourself. Rodia also asked the written question just now. Okay, good. Now I think both empirical and theoretical groups have to give response one by one. Let's start from the theoretical based group first. Yeah. Okay, we should give the first response. Yes, please.
Mas Sandi, please, for the question from Mas Daniar.
Okay, so I will try to answer the Mas Daniel's question about how to improve existing classroom assessment to make learning more effective. So based on what I read on the article, how to improve existing classroom to make learning more effective is by align assignment, quizzes, or tests closely to learning outcome. And then also teacher also could provide the authentic learning experiences by designing an authentic assignment such as by choosing real world content and then targeting a real world audience and use a real world format. And also the teacher should be transparent about assignment instruction and expectations because communicate clearly to students about the purpose of each assignment, the process will completing the task, and the criteria you will use to evaluate it before they begin to work. And also some studies have found that transparent assignment supports students to meet learning goals and result in especially large increases in success and confidence for students. Is that clear enough, Mas Daniel?
Yeah, thank you, Mas.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Sandy, and also Daniel. Yeah. Okay, let's go on the next.
Also, I will try to answer the Mas Bangkit's question about which one is more important for ESP, whether it's proficiency test, achievement test, or and so on. So I would like to say proficiency test is more useful for ESP learner because they really need that proficiency test score to apply or use in their job. Like they will, like some job application will want to know about their standard in English by doing the proficiency test like that. So in my opinion, proficiency test is the most important for ESP learner.
Yeah, I think that's appropriate answer. Yeah, to measure what they have learned about the English participation process, then achievement test is was that appropriate to use. Yeah. Okay, good.
Thank you.
Yes. Any more response? Bangkit, yes. Is that okay, Bangkit?
Well done, sir.
Good. Thank you very much. Okay, good. Now next. Who should be the next?
Moreover, sir, I want to try to answer the Mas Dino's question. The first one, if the result of the test shows a bad result on normal curve, what should we as a teacher do? So basically, by considering the previous meeting, while the students have a lower score, so we as a teacher need to lower the next assessment level, and also giving them feedback on its assessment so that they will try to know where their or the students' mistake is.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
we as a teacher have to doing an evaluation after giving them a scoring by feedback. Also, the second question is about considering about big class in Indonesia that consists of 30 until 40 students. How do we make an effective assessment to measure their teaching skill? So based on our group presentation, I would like to the extensive speaking is probably the most suitable for the Indonesian class, which is consists of 30 until 40 students, because extensive speaking is considered to use an production by students by giving a speech in front of class, storytelling, or their presentation, so that the students will get the same activities in the class, like that. Is it
Okay. There's Dino. Hello, Dino.
Yeah,
Is that
yes.
okay?
Sir. Yeah, thank you, Mas Andi. Very good.
Okay, good, very good. Okay, I'm going to give some comments later, yeah, at the end of the discussion. Okay, next. The other member
Next.
of, yes, who is it?
Yes, I will try to answer the question from Mbak Ninis. The question is, what is your opinion about making the best assessment to encourage the students' potential? Do you have any ideas to design a suitable assessment for the 20th century students? So, even though I'm still not have the experience in teaching, so I think the proper assessment is we have to give the assessment based on the material we already explained, and make sure that what we already explained is accepted by the students. So we can give the question, we can give the test, not too easy and not too difficult, so the students can answer with confidence. And then do you have any ideas to design a suitable assessment? So I think the important things that we have to give when the students already success in answer the question, maybe we have already give the compliment. And I think the important things is give the evaluation from the teacher for the students, so they can know what the weakness, so they can improve to be better. I think that's my opinion, Mbak Ninis.
Okay, Limatus.
I will try to answer the question from Mbak Halimah.
Yeah.
How do we design good assessment? I think how we design a good assessment. The first is we should reflect the skill and strategies of the learning area. For example, the teacher wouldn't judge a student skill based on their handwriting, right? And then good assessment invites students to demonstrate the breadth, depth, and range of what they know and can do. And the second, work together to clearly define what students need to do. So the teacher should know what student need. And the last is never gender bias. Never see students from the gender, not culture dependent, like it's accessible for all students. So the conclusion is with good assessment, our students will be able to make the most of every opportunity to demonstrate their learning. And then the second question is, do the teacher or lecturers have to analyze the needs of students before designing the assessment? In my opinion, I think yes, because students have different skills, right? And then teacher have to know what student needs, and back to the purpose of assessment. The purpose of assessment is an effort to obtain the data or information from learning process and outcomes to find out how well the performance of students, classes, or course or study programs is compared to certain learning objective. Thank you. I think Mbak Halimah.
That's okay. Okay, Halimah, is that okay?
It is clear.
Thank you, Mbak Umi, Warda, and Tim for your explanation. Inshallah, I get a point.
All right, good. Now, next. Is there any more question addressed to the theoretical group?
Yeah. Yes, it's already a question from Bu Rodia through WhatsApp. So the question is for placement test, which is it is to place a student into a particular level or section of language curriculum. And the question is, how can we use it to place students based on their English levels when the classroom have been organized or set up by the regulation year of school? So I would like to try to answer this question based on my experience that I ever teach in Islamic boarding school, which is the Islamic boarding school still has a bilingual class, which is bilingual class is mewajibkan mereka belajar dalam berbahasa Inggris. Yang mana sebelum mereka masuk ke bilingual class tersebut, mereka akan diberikan tes, mungkin mirip-mirip seperti tes proficiency, so that after the test guru-guru akan mengevaluasi tes tersebut dan mengconsider siswa-siswa mana yang cocok untuk masuk di bilingual class. I think placement test is kind of similar with proficiency test like that. So.
Yeah. Rodia, is there anything to clarify?
Yeah, that means I mean, for the placement test, it cannot be applied for all schools. It depends on the institutions, because as we know that for state schools, the classes have been organized, and some of them they do not. I mean, they aren't set up based on the English levels, but it's like the general one, or maybe for all academic skills, not only for English. So I'm just thinking about how can we use this kind of placement test, or what is the function or purpose of the placement test if we use in that kind of school. that do not apply for that one. But I think, yes, maybe for Mas Sandi's experience, and I think it is probably, but maybe not for other schools, yeah, Mas. Yeah, I'm just curious how to apply in other schools that do not have that kind of placement test. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. I think this is a good question. Yeah, this related to the placement test. Remember, placement test is a test which is intended to place a student in the right in the right place. Yeah, what I mean, for example, the placement test should be done prior to the grouping. Yeah, but if the school has already grouped the student, there is no placement test. Unless the school is going to make another classification of grouping. For example, in semester 1, the students are still general, yeah, they are grouped based on the proficiency test or achievement test, yeah, sorry, proficiency test. But then after a semester passes, then the school is going to regroup, yeah, into a different department like natural science department, social department, language department. Then they need to do placement tests in order to place the student appropriately with their result of test. Okay, so placement test is done prior to the division, yeah, of the group. If it is already group, there is no placement test. But if the already group student is going to be regrouped, then placement test is also needed. You understand the point, Rodia?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's what commonly happen, yeah. But in a certain school like pesantren, maybe the school is already aware that grouping the students into the appropriate level is very important, yeah, especially in relation to religion, yeah, religion courses, yeah. So and also the the classification of the department in some pesantren or Islamic schools. The groupings are not only based on the social science, natural science, but also religious department, yeah, religious department. Okay, I think that's the the function of the placement test, yeah, in order to place the student appropriately, yeah, based on their their potential, yeah. So this student is potentially good when he or she is placed in the social department, for example, yeah, instead of natural science. Okay, good. Any more response? So for the theoretical base group is already finished, or you still have another question?
Enough, sir.
Oh, that's enough, yeah.
Hey, there's
Okay, now
one-
let's move. Okay, let's move to the empirical base group. Okay, please give respond to the questions one by one, yeah. Yes, please. Empirical group, you don't have any question?
Yes, sir. I will answer from my from Mas Dino's question.
Mhm.
So the question is based on your analysis, why gender can make different effect on the result of formative classroom assessment.
Mhm.
So this study referred moderate and significant difference in gender regarding the effect of formative classroom assessment on students' scores. And the formative classroom assessment significantly improved the female score and academic achievement more than it did for males. But both gender had significant improvement. And why the gender bisa berbeda. I think, in my opinion, maybe because the male less motivation to study, or maybe kurang aktif dalam kelas, and for the other factors maybe can use for the next research. Untuk research bisa dijadikan untuk research selanjutnya. And for the second question from Bu Rodia, in abstract, the students in this study score less than 60% in their first semester. The formative classroom assessment tests were applied in their second semester. And I'm just curious to know the result after applying by formative classroom assessment. Is there any information related to this? And both the students have improved their score, both female and male, but different degree.
Is there any information about the percentage? As you know that it is mentioned 60% before applying formative tests. It's only stated after the finding. Yeah, okay.
The researcher took the subject that have di bawah dan kemudian diberikan treatment tersebut dan hasilnya signifikan improvement.
Okay, when you answer the question, give responses, you may share screen, yeah. You may share the was that the result, or maybe the conclusion, or maybe the abstract, yeah, to show the was that the percentage, something like that one, yeah. But if it is already clear, that's okay. Yes. So Roy Satul, is that enough for your explanation?
Enough, sir. It is clear.
Okay. Yeah, Rodia, is that okay?
Yes, I'm okay. I'm okay with it, but I'm just curious because there is no information about the percentage. Like it's only a general conclusion that FCA has significant contribution to the students' tests.
Yeah. Okay. So when you read quantitative research, score is very important, yeah, to indicate that there is significant correlation or significant influence. Then we have to show the score, yeah, the score of the result of statistic competition, yeah. I think it is also presented in the journal, yeah. So that's need to be underlined, yeah, so that we will be clear, yeah, about the result, yeah. And then also if in the quantitative research you want to know the reason why there is correlation, positive correlation or significant correlation or significant influence, then you have to read further the finding and the discussion. Yeah, in those sections you will find the answer. What factors might influence, yeah, might contribute to the significant effects or influence, yeah. So please try to base your answer, your explanation on the findings and discussion, yeah. I think it is not easy for us to make our personal interpretation because we are not the researcher. So our answer should be based solely on the researchers' discussion, researchers' analysis or interpretation of the finding. And in that way, you can find it in the discussion. So when you read the discussion, this means that you will try to see the explanation behind the finding. Yeah. Yeah, why does the findings show like this? So you can read in the discussion. This is for I think the following presenter later. Yeah. Okay, good. Now, any other members who want to answer the question? The next question.
Okay, sir.
Mhm.
I will try to answer the question from
Mhm.
Mas Andi.
Okay, Andi. Mhm.
Okay. In my opinion, if the teacher wants to give an assessment, they must systematically design an assessment, and it should be comprehensive and continuous. And it means that the assessment is carried out using various techniques and cover all competencies. And the assessment must also be objective, and the teacher can carry out the assessment process in the form of giving tests, quizzes, assignment, observation, and so on. I think that's my opinion. Maybe Mbak Alfa will add more about.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, Alfadia.
Yes,
To
okay.
add?
I want to answer the second question about the government policies. The use of assessment to support students' learning is contained in the policies regulation, in the regulation of the Minister of Education and Culture of Republic Indonesia, number of 23, 2016, concerning about the educational assessment standard, and also number 3, 2020, about the national standard of higher education. And in detail, it states that in special guideline, the assessment in all of the level of education in Indonesia needs to be assessment that is objective, transparent, and also accurate. That's all about the government policies.
Okay. Okay, good. Okay, any more? Was that questions? The written question has already been answered all?
It's already we answered.
Okay, good. Okay, now if the written question shared in the WhatsApp group have already been answered, yeah, completely. Now, to any other audience who want to ask or maybe give comments or feedback?
Excuse me, my question hasn't been answered yet.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, okay, Nuraini, yeah. Nuraini. Okay. Is it addressed to the theoretical group or
to the first group, to the
Group, oh.
theoretical.
Nuraini, where is it?
The last message.
The last. Oh, yeah, sorry, the last, yeah. Question for group one, theoretical group, yeah. Okay, yes. The assessment does not, sorry, let me read it, yeah, to clarify the question. The assessment does not occur only at the end of the class of course. So would you describe about assessment cycle in the middle of the class of course? Okay, theoretical group, any response?
Maybe I want to try, sir.
Okay, Sandy, yes, please.
Probably the Mbak Nuraini means is about the formative assessment, which is assessment that happens during learning activities, right? So maybe the example of the assessment that happens during learning activity is by giving them a group work, like directly group work giving to the class like that. And also we can also giving them like games or bright reflections of quick writing like that, or by giving them a quiz, just like daily quiz like that.
Okay, okay. Any other member who wants to add the clarification, explanation? Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah. So what Nuraini is asking is related to the formative assessment. Yeah, assessment which is done during the teaching learning process, not at the end of the teaching learning process. Yeah, which is called summative test, summative assessment. Yeah. So in the in the formative assessment, teachers can give various kinds of tasks, assignment, or homework. Yeah, even it can also be directly addressed during the teaching process by giving oral questions, or maybe by giving a kind of feedback, something like that one, so that the teacher will get the data, about the learning progress, during the teaching learning activities, So formative assessment is commonly done during the teaching learning process by the teacher. By giving students various kinds of formative assessment, like quizzes, maybe what's that tasks, exercises, and so on. Okay, is that what you mean, Nuraini?
Yeah, that's right. So I just want to know how about when the student having difficulties during the class, is it including to the formative assessment? So we try to help them. Is it like that? Is it
Yes,
included
exactly.
too?
Yes, that's true. Yeah. So identifying the students' learning progress is also a part of the formative assessment. Yeah. Because maybe during the teaching process, the teacher sees some students who are very passive. Yeah. Who was that very slow in learning, something like that. In that case, then the teacher can facilitate. Yeah. Scaffolding. Scaffolding means helping the weak students, to catch up with their fast learner friends. So because in the class their condition is heterogeneous. Some students are fast learner and then the other slow learner. So this is one is part of the formative assessment. Okay, very good. Any more question, please? No. Okay, if not, let me share. Some main points that need also be to be considered when we learn about the classroom assessment. Sorry, not this one. What is it? Oh, this one. Okay, can you see the display about designing classroom assessment?
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay, now, when you are designing a classroom assessment, some questions need to be asked, in order to prepare, the kinds of various kind of assessment. The first is what are the learning objectives, in the teaching learning process, and then also what are the learning materials, and what needs to be considered when you want to design classroom assessment, because assessment is conducted in order to measure whether the learning objectives are achieved or not. This is especially for summative assessment. For the learning materials, they can be formative assessment. Whether some materials are difficult to understand, difficult to grasp by the student, something like that. And then the principle, what principle need to be taken into account? And then next is the step in the step needed to be taken. So with this kind of question, then the teacher will be able to make better preparation for designing the assessment in the classroom. And then the next, when is there any need for pretesting if the teacher wants to measure the student achievement during a certain period of teaching learning process or activities in order to measure their progress. If the teacher want to know the progress in learning, pre-test and post-test are very important to do. Yeah, to know the difference. Yeah, whether the post-test is the same as that of the post-test or it is different. If it is different, how is it different? Lower or higher? Yeah, this is to know whether the student make progress in the teaching in the learning activities. And then what type of assessment is needed during the instruction? Commonly, the teacher will use various kinds, in order to cover, all students in the classroom. If it is not all, at least it is most of the students, can be can be assessed, by the teacher in order to know either the learning progress or their learning achievement. And then what type of assessment is needed at the end of interaction? This question refers to the summative assessment. Whenever the assessment is intended to measure, the result of learning, it is called summative. The result of learning means the teacher have completed a certain unit of material, and then the teacher will give a summative assessment. To know the result of the learning. But need during instruction, this is formative. This has been implicitly presented by the group STEP. The group also have presented here. Maybe later you can read this presentation by yourself. Okay, those one are the questions that also be considered by teachers who wants to make want to design classroom assessment. Okay, good. Now, do you have any more questions, please, to discuss? No?
Enough, sir.
Okay, that's enough. Now, let me remind for the next group. So this is today, we have finished. We have completed this topic today. And then, okay, next week, we will go on with the next group. Group 2, empirical and theoretical. Okay, so for the theoretical based topic, authentic assessment, will be presented by Bayu Brojomukti, and then Rohmatika Nur Anissa and Thea Karuni Respati. And then for the empirical based, Halimatus Sadia and Rodia. Okay, I think the presentation of empirical based, you can see, you can refer to the previous group. I think the previous group have covered the complete comprehensive main points of the review of research finding, including the one is left, that is the source. The source is very important to identify the the journal, whether the journal is reputable or not. Let me remind you, researching the reputable journal is very worthwhile, compared with the non-reputable journal. Because I'm afraid that when you access the non-reputable journal, you will learn something wrong from the finding. This is not good. Especially for master degree student. Jadi jangan sampai tergelincir membeli jurnal yang tidak bereputasi. Konsekuensinya besar. Anda bisa belajar dari sesuatu yang salah. Banyak jurnal abal-abal itu karena tidak direview oleh editor yang handal, banyak yang salah. Jangan dipakai untuk diskusi. Nanti kita mendiskusikan sesuatu yang salah. So how can we make sure that the journal we review is reputable? You just check, you just check the index, whether the journal is accredited or not. If it is a national journal, just check in Sinta, nanti dicek di Sinta, terdaftar di Sinta enggak jurnal itu. Kalau enggak berarti tidak terakreditasi, jangan dipakai. Kalau di Sinta, there are level, level of accreditation in Sinta S1, S2 up to S6. For our purpose, it is not recommended to take the Sinta 4. Yeah, Sinta 4, 5, 6 are not good for us. Yeah, maybe for S1 student is okay, but for master degree is not. I think you have to to know about this. Yeah, but and also the if it is international journal, just try to check in the Schemaco, yeah, whether it is indexed by Scopus or not. If Scopus, I think Scopus 3 is good, yeah, still good, yeah. 4 is still okay, yeah, maybe but not 5, yeah. Okay, I think that's the criteria to select the journal so that you review the appropriate material, yeah, that we can learn. Reviewing journals are very important. This is also for your future career, yeah, in order to be able to get some insights, yeah, some input about your research project. Okay. Okay, thanks very much for your active participation and kind attention. Yeah, I think today we have also have a very lively class. This is good to maintain. Yeah, so next week I do hope that there will be also other questions. Yeah, which is sent in the WhatsApp. The earlier the better. Yeah, in order to to give presenters time, ya, to think of the appropriate answer. Jadi kalau bertanya jangan dadak, ya, sebaiknya diberikan di awal, ya. Makanya saya katakan sehari sebelum presentasi materi di share, kemudian segera diikuti pertanyaan. Oke, good, thank you once again. So we will meet again next week at the same time. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Warahmatullahi